it's even more interesting when you get outside and get out of uniform and see how the rest of the world works.
Yeah, and that's a perfect transition, because I was just going to ask you about kind of translating these sort of those skills that you maybe gained both going through the SEALs training yourself along with being an instructor, and how that sort of translated to the business world once you got into that.
So I'll say it right up front. You're spoiled when you're a SEAL, and I was an officer and I was given, 10, 15, 20 guys. I think the largest command I had was 32 as a task unit. It costs anywhere from $2 to $3 million to train a SEAL, all in for a 2-year period of concentrated basic, intermediate, and advanced training. So I'm getting pre-screened, highly motivated self-starters who are committed to each other, committed to the team, committed to the mission, probably, double A, if not triple A collegiate athlete level, people that all think they're Napoleon with high IQs. You step out of uniform and you go into any organization in the United States, and that's not what you have. You're not, that's not reality, and I think for a lot of SEALs that get out and try to get into the mainstream and the commercial side, it's a shock. You've become accustomed to it. Now, if you started out really young, it's definitely a shock, because that's all you've really known. I mean, I basically was 17 and a half to 18 when I started, and that's what I knew. And I spent so much time on the road. I was never really in a civilian commercial environment. I mean, I met my neighbors and things, but that's a little bit different. So I found that there's a lot of what I knew to be very valuable and what I thought I had as far as attributes didn't translate, because there was a lot more me than we. Everybody was self-focused. Everybody was worried about their job, their next job, their raise, their promotion, how they looked. It was very self-centered. It was a very interesting universe. It was the opposite. It was almost exactly a polar opposite. Now, there were people that were driven, and that doesn't necessarily mean, positive, in a positive way. It could have been driven to exceed and excel and, do things just for their own benefit. There were people, but sometimes that would be so socially team oriented that it wasn't about executing and performing and accomplishing anything of any measurement. It was just they liked working with other people. So then you have an accountability problem with that kind of an approach. So what I ended up doing is I ended up kind of stepping back, and, in prisoner of war school, they teach us that the day after you become a prisoner, or the day you become a prisoner, you have to come to grips with one pure fact. You're no longer whatever you were. You're no longer the commander, of a ship. You're no longer the commander of a squadron. You're not a fighter pilot. You're not a SEAL. And all those perks, the rank, the authority, being, looked up to, whatever, you're not that anymore. And you're not a badass because you're surrounded by 10 people with guns pointing at you. So what they teach you is the faster you get over that moment and recognize, kind of like the black swan, comparison, the quicker you recognize it's a black swan, you recognize that whatever you've been doing is not going to work. And the sooner you come up with a whole new normal, a whole new way of looking at the world, rather than say, well, it'll get better, it'll stay the same, we'll wait and see what happens, the quicker you succeed when a black swan hits you. Well, this is like a personal black swan when you're a prisoner of war. So the quicker you realize that you're a prisoner of war, and the quicker you start to absorb the environmental information, meaning where's the food coming from? Where are the water sources? How many guards are there? What makes them mad? What makes them happy? How many people do I have, that I can count as allies and friends? All those things. The sooner you learn those rules of your new reality, the quicker psychologically you'll click into gear and survive the experience. Viktor Frankl says the same thing in his book. The ones that sat around saying, why me? Why me? This can't be me. I'm a banker. I'm a rich person. I'm a this, I'm a that. They're the ones that just kind of curled up in the fetal position in the German prison camps and just died. Just let themselves die.
Wasting my time. You just can't help yourself, can you?